The classic American crime novel strips away the parlor room elegance of earlier mysteries. It relies on cold, hard observation and the grim reality of the street. Yet the man who pioneered this style, Dashiell Hammett, possessed zero formal literary training. He actually dropped out of middle school to learn how the world worked firsthand. Born in rural Maryland on a family farm with the ironically poetic name Hopewell and Aim, Hammett was a solitary, quick-tempered teenager who developed an intense dislike for the classroom. By 14, he was gone, trading school books for grueling manual labor. He spent his early adolescence surviving as a freight clerk, a railroad laborer, and a stevedore hauling heavy cargo on the docks. Years of sweating for daily wages quickly erased any romantic illusions he might have held about life. He understood the raw mechanics of survival, which primed him perfectly for a sharp career pivot. In 1915, at the age of 21, Hammett walked into the Baltimore office of the Pinkerton National Detective Agency and got a job. These detectives were unlike the eccentric gentlemen solving puzzles in British fiction. The Pinkerton Agency was a massive, fiercely ruthless corporate law enforcement apparatus. They had operated as a Union intelligence service during the Civil War, but by the early 20th century, they were best known for violently breaking strikes and hunting down labor organizers on behalf of wealthy industrialists. That brutal track record made the Pinkerton badge a despised symbol in the exact working-class neighborhoods Hammett had just spent years scraping a living in. By putting on that suit, he traded back-breaking dock work for a front-row seat to the dark transactional reality of how American justice actually functioned on the ground. Hammett proved remarkably good at the work. He advanced rapidly from a desk clerk to a full field operative, eventually relocating to the agency's San Francisco branch to work undercover, track thieves, and investigate fraud. Instead of unraveling neat parlor mysteries, his daily routine immersed him in street-level corruption and the peculiar moral calculus of men paid to enforce the law for strict cash profit. The most crucial part of his job happened back at the office, where operatives filed case reports under tight corporate formatting rules. Agents were forbidden from adding personal sentiment. They documented exactly what was seen and done, delivering nothing but cold facts. Submitting to this rigid reporting structure for years trained his mind to process chaos through a detached clinical lens. It forged the exact linguistic cadence he would eventually use on the page. That education came to an abrupt halt when World War I drew him away from fieldwork. In June 1918, he enlisted in the U.S. Army's Ambulance Corps. While stationed at a training camp outside Baltimore, he contracted the Spanish influenza. The infection soon developed into a severe, life-altering case of tuberculosis. After his honorable discharge in July 1919, Hammett endured a bleak recovery period in a series of veterans' hospitals in the Pacific Northwest, where he eventually met and married a nurse named Josephine Dolan. He made a brief attempt to reclaim his old life, returning to the San Francisco Pinkerton office, but his rapidly deteriorating lungs made the physical demands of detective work completely impossible. By 1922, the disease had forced him out of the agency for good, severing him from the only professional identity and reliable livelihood he had ever known. Because his strain of tuberculosis was highly contagious, Hammett had to protect his wife and their 2 young daughters by isolating himself almost entirely. The prolonged physical separation took a heavy domestic toll, eventually causing the marriage to dissolve. He was 30 years old, chronically ill, and completely immobilized. In this physical state, taking on any conventional job to pay his rent was completely out of the question. Stripped of his health, his family, and his career, Hammett was pushed into a desperate corner. He needed to generate an income from a chair, using whatever raw materials he had left. He had exactly 2 tools at his disposal: a standard typewriter, and 9 years of memories as a working Pinkerton operative. He began typing up short stories and submitting them to magazines. Finding a natural fit for his street-level observations, he targeted pulp crime publications like Black Mask. Here, he merged his past and his present. He mapped the grim, unvarnished truth of undercover work directly onto the stripped-down, emotionless syntax of a corporate Pinkerton case report. The publication of his story Arson Plus in 1923 served as a successful proof of concept, providing the cash the ailing 30-year-old needed to survive. Hammett never set out to write high art. He typed those stories because his lungs gave out, and by leveraging strict corporate reporting rules simply to pay his rent, he accidentally invented the modern American crime genre.